Welcome to page 7 of your volume packet. Today we're going to take a look at the grade 8 reference sheet provided to you on the 8th grade state exam. This sheet contains conversions and formulas that are critical for finding area, circumference, and volume. Let's take a closer look. Please take notes as we go through this formula sheet. For now, we're particularly interested in the formulas. We're going to divide this section into 3 parts. If you wouldn't mind, draw a line here between circle and circle, and then draw a line here between circle and general prisms. This is the formula sheet that you receive on the 8th grade state exam. It's organized in a certain fashion. This is what we like to refer to as a 1D measurement or one dimension. Here, you're measuring circumference. Please jot that down. Circumference measures the distance around a circle. It's the distance around the outside. Remember, when we use the formula, we tend to use the second formula for finding circumference. This is the one that we like to use, although there is another way to write it, but for now, we're going to not consider that formula. This formula is written circumference equals 2 times pi times r. But we can write it this way as well. Pi times 2 times r. Circumference measures in linear units, the distance around the circle. It measures in units like centimeters, inches, feet. Now, let's move to our 2D measurements, or in other words, area. Area measures a flat surface. It measures that flat surface in square units, not linear units. You might measure in a square centimeter, a square foot, even a square inch. And remember, we can also write it this way, an inch to the second power, square inch. For all 3 of these, you're measuring in square units for all 3 formulas. Let's start with parallelograms. This formula covers a square, a rectangle, and of course, the classic parallelogram. Area equals base times height. Simple. It's the general formula that works for all 3 figures. For a triangle, we get the formula area equals 1/2 base times height, or you could write it this way if you prefer, area equals base times height divided by 2. I like that way. And then for a circle, when we're trying to calculate the area of a circle, go ahead and draw a circle in here. And there's our radius. You can use the formula area equals pi times r squared. I like to write it this way. Please write this down. Area equals pi times r times r. Those are the formulas we use for area. And lastly, let's go down to the bottom and look at the formulas we're going to use for volume or 3D measurement. When it comes to the volume of solids, we're going to use these formulas. Let's take a look at the main formula. We know that big B represents the area of the base. If I have a rectangular prism or a rectangular base, we know we're going to use, for big B, length times width, and then of course the H is a part of the formula. If we have a triangular base, we're going to use volume equals base times height divided by 2 in place of big B. And of course, H is part of the formula. If we have a circular bottom or a cylinder, we're going to use the formula V equals, and it's given over here, but pi times R times R times H. Those are the three main formulas we will be using when we're calculating volume. Eventually, we will get to the volume of a sphere and the volume of a cone. Although the formula is given this way, I like to write it like this. Please write it down. Volume equals 4 times pi times R times R times R, which is R cubed, all divided by 3. It's another version of the formula that's been given. And for a cone, please write this formula down. We're given volume equals 1/3 pi times R squared times H. Please write it this way. Pi times R, which of course is R squared, times H, all divided by 3. That's another version of that formula. I think it's a little bit easier. Now keep track of your formula sheets. And remember, volume is a measurement of space. When we measure space, we use cubic units. They look something like this. And you might use a cubic centimeter to measure space, or a cubic inch. Or you could write it this way, you could use a cubic foot to measure space. But when we're measuring volume, we're measuring space. And those are the kinds of units we use. This concludes the lesson for page 7.